Hello to everyone gathered for the Rare Disease Week 2023 Legislative Advocates Briefing. Now, I can't see you right now, but I know you are looking good and you are ready to get things done. I want to first recognize the Every Life Foundation for all of your crucial work to empower people living with rare diseases. As advocates and patients, you are leading the way, brought together by a common mission, helping to find therapies, treatments, and cures for rare diseases, and working to connect patients with those advances. Your work is so important because, as you all know, there are over 10,000 unknown rare diseases affecting almost 1 in 10 Americans. That's almost 30 million people, roughly half of whom are kids. But fewer than 5% of rare diseases, which is what I always tell my colleagues, have a treatment approved by the Food and Drug Administration. We know these patients and we've heard their stories. I think about Abby Hauser of Chanhassen, Minnesota, who is here in Washington for Rare Disease Week. She grew up with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or as we know it, EDS, a rare genetic connective tissue disorder that causes chronic pain and frequent bruising, among other symptoms. But that hasn't stopped Abby from thriving. She completed the Chicago Marathon. That's more than a bunch of senators have done. And as a college student, she worked to make fitness and sports fully inclusive for people living with disabilities and chronic illnesses. Like so many of you, she's committed to forging a world where every rare disease is diagnosed quickly and accurately and has a viable, effective, and safe treatment. A world where research gives everyone a chance to fight, no matter how rare their condition. As co-chair of the bipartisan, bicameral Rare Disease Congressional Caucus, I'm dedicated to making sure every person living with a rare disease has access to accurate diagnostic tests and effective, affordable treatments and cures. That's why I'm so focused on putting federal dollars into research and therapies, because the investment we make today will pave the way for the cutting-edge treatments of tomorrow. Last year, I successfully pushed for a $2.5 billion funding boost for the NIH, the 8th consecutive year that the NIH has received an increase. But as you know, funding isn't the only solution. We also need patients and their families to play a larger role in the treatment research approval process. Last year, we successfully got provisions from my bipartisan bill, the STAT Act, with Rare Disease Caucus co-chairs Senator Roger Wicker and Congressman Gus Bilirakis, passed into law, helping facilitate patient access to rare disease therapies by improving how the FDA works with the rare disease patient community. But we know that there's still more work to do. That's why my fellow Rare Disease Caucus co-chairs and I are committed to partnering with the FDA to improve the reliability in how the agency reviews applications for rare disease therapies. We've heard from so many advocates that there are often well-meaning but inconsistent interpretations between FDA divisions and offices on how patient data and other evidence is included in the review process, or on what is considered an acceptable endpoint in a clinical trial. So we're going to work in a bipartisan way with the FDA to bring more reliability and efficiency to the process of reviewing rare disease therapies. I've also worked with my fellow co-chairs on the bipartisan Finn-Sawyer Access to Cancer Testing Act. Our new legislation will make sure that patients with rare cancer on Medicare, Medicaid, and CHIP have access to molecular diagnostic tests at the time of their diagnosis, rather than only if the cancer reoccurs. Seriously, I think most people would like to catch it as it occurs, not when it recurs. This bill will help identify accurate diagnoses and personalized treatments much earlier in the course of the cancer so that patients with a rare cancer have a better shot at successful recovery. We're also reintroducing the Benefit Act, our bipartisan bill to give patients and their loved ones a more prominent seat at the table when the FDA is reviewing new treatments, because these important perspectives can help cut through the red tape that too often delays treatment. I'll close with a quote from Abby Hauser, who I mentioned earlier. She said this: I refuse to be defined by the genetic mutations that have weakened the collagen holding my body together. My body will always be unstable and fragile, but my limitations do not determine who I am. And what Abby should know is that when I was at the Mayo Clinic recently, I've successfully gotten through breast cancer, by the way. When I was there, I met someone with the very disease that she had. He is a preeminent doctor, a cardiologist, who has had this disease for a very, very long time and is very happy in his older years. I'm confident that together we can accomplish some truly remarkable things. We will develop therapies, treatments, and cures. We will save lives, and we will not let limitations determine all that we can achieve when we work together. Thank you for bringing your voices to the Hill. I'm glad to be your partner in Washington, working across the aisle to help patients with rare conditions get the care they need. Keep up the great work. Enjoy the rest of the briefing. Thanks, everyone.